The fastest way to change your life is simple. Disappear from the person you've been and rebuild yourself into someone they won't recognize. No announcements, no warnings, just results. If you're watching this right now, it's because there's a part of you that knows you can't keep living like this. You're tired of starting over, tired of explaining yourself, tired of feeling stuck in the same place, thinking the same thoughts, and repeating the same habits. And deep down, you know exactly why. You've been holding on to a version of yourself that's done all it can do. It's over. It's time to let go. Because the life you want, the discipline, the focus, the respect, the success, it's not going to come to the person you are now. It's waiting for the person you're about to become. But only if you're willing to disappear and do the work in silence. Here's a truth most people won't say out loud. You don't need more time. You need a better strategy. And the strategy is this: stop talking, stop showing, stop explaining, go dark, focus on yourself, focus on your habits. Build a life that's so disciplined, so locked in, you don't even have the energy to update people on what's happening. You're too busy making it happen. The ones who win aren't always the loudest, they're the most focused. Let me leave you with something you won't forget. The real flex is disappearing for 6 months and coming back unrecognizable. Not because you want to prove anyone wrong, but because you finally proved yourself right. This is about building daily discipline, mastering your time, cutting dead weight from your life, and showing up every single day when nobody is watching. If you're ready to disappear from the old life and transform yourself into someone powerful, you're in the right place. Watch this video until the end. By the time we're done, you'll have the blueprint, real practical steps you can use right now to rebuild your mind, your body, your discipline, and your entire life. No hype, just action. Let's get to work. Chapter 1. Disappearing from the old you. When a man finally wakes up to the truth of his life, when he finally realizes that everything he's ever wanted, every ounce of power, every piece of peace, every level of freedom has been sitting inside of him all along, something changes, something irreversible. It's not loud, it's not dramatic, it's quiet. It's a decision made in the silence of a room where no one is watching. It's made in the dark, where the world has no influence, and no opinions, and no judgment. And it's in that moment he decides, I will never be that man again. I will never live one more day as the man who settled, as the man who waited, as the man who tolerated average, who obeyed his weaknesses, who made excuses for his laziness, who bowed to fear. That version of him, that version dies here. It ends now, and from this day forward he disappears. Not from life, not from responsibility, but from everything that's been holding him back. He disappears from the old story, and he rewrites a new one with his own hands. This chapter is for that man, for that woman, for the person who knows deep in their bones that they are done. You don't need another motivational speech. You don't need someone to tell you how powerful you are. You already know that. What you need is someone to remind you that it's time to leave. It's time to disappear from the person you've been pretending to be. Because for too long, you've been playing a role that no longer fits you. You've been walking around wearing a mask that makes other people comfortable, but slowly destroys you. You've been pretending you're fine, when inside you're screaming for change. And I want you to hear this clearly. You don't have to stay in that version of yourself. You don't have to stay in that old life. But if you want to be free, you're going to have to disappear. Now, when I say disappear, I'm not telling you to pack a bag and leave town. I'm not saying you should run away from your responsibilities or go off the grid and become a ghost. That's not what this is about. What I'm saying is this: You need to leave behind the version of yourself that no longer serves you. The habits that drain your energy, the people who keep you small, the thoughts that convince you to play it safe. You need to disappear from that life, like it never existed. Because if you don't, you will stay stuck in a loop that will never end. The same days, the same problems, the same failures, over and over again. You'll convince yourself you're making progress because you read a new book or listen to a new podcast, but nothing inside you is different. And the harsh truth is this: if you don't change who you are, you don't change what you get. I know this is hard to hear. It was hard for me too. Years ago I thought I could fix my life by tweaking a few habits. I thought I could just work a little harder, wake up a little earlier, and things would magically shift. But nothing changed until I changed my identity. Nothing changed until I decided to disappear from the man I was. I had to leave him behind. I had to bury him. I had to kill off every excuse, every weak thought, every habit that made me less than who I was meant to be. And I'll tell you right now, it was the most painful and the most powerful decision I've ever made. But when I made it, everything in my life started to change. And here's the truth you need to hear. No one is coming to save you. No one is coming to knock on your door and tell you it's time to step into your potential. You have to decide. You have to look at yourself in the mirror and say, I am not available for this version of me anymore. I am not available for mediocrity. I am not available for weakness. I am not available for excuses. I am done. And when you say that, really say it, you can't take it back. You don't get to flip-flop between the old you and the new you. You don't get to have both lives. You choose, and you disappear. Now listen to me. This is not going to be easy. It's not supposed to be easy. Transformation is not about comfort. It's about courage. It's about making decisions when you're scared. It's about stepping into a new version of yourself when you have no idea what's waiting on the other side. It's about trusting that if you disappear from who you've been, you'll finally become who you were meant to be. So how do you do it? How do you disappear from the old you? You start by making one clear, non-negotiable decision. You tell yourself, I am done living like this. I am done thinking like this. I am done acting like this. And you back it up with action. You start removing yourself from situations that pull you back into your old patterns. You stop hanging around people who remind you of who you used to be. You stop filling your time with distractions and noise and meaningless activities. You create space for the new you to breathe. And in that space you build. You build new habits. You build new routines. You build a new mindset. One day at a time, quietly, consistently, relentlessly. When I disappeared from my old life, I stopped telling people what I was going to do. I didn't announce it. I didn't post about it. I didn't need validation or approval. I just did the work. Every single day. And you need to do the same. Stop explaining yourself. Stop defending your dreams. Stop trying to get people to understand you. They won't. Not yet. And that's okay. This is your journey, not theirs. You don't need applause. You need discipline. You need silence. You need focus. And you need to keep moving forward no matter what. Some people aren't going to recognize you when you come back. They'll wonder where you went. They'll wonder why you don't act the same, why you don't talk the same, why you don't show up the same. And that's because you disappeared from the old you. You left him behind. And you're never going back. Not for anyone. Not for anything. This is your moment. Right here. Right now. No more waiting. No more wishing. No more hoping things will magically change. You have everything you need to change your life inside of you already. But you have to make the decision to use it. You have to decide to disappear. Disappear from the person who made excuses. Disappear from the person who quit when it got hard. Disappear from the person who let fear run their life, and step into the person who shows up no matter what. The person who does the work whether they feel like it or not. The person who lives with discipline, focus, and relentless commitment to their future. I know this isn't easy. If it were, everyone would do it. But you're not everyone. You're here for a reason. You wouldn't be listening to this if there wasn't a part of you that was ready to make a change. You wouldn't be here if there wasn't something inside you screaming for more. So stop ignoring it. Stop pushing it away. It's time. Time to leave behind everything that's been holding you back. Time to disappear from the old you and become something greater. No one is coming to save you. No one is coming to push you. You have to do it yourself. But you're not alone. There are people just like you who are making the same decision right now. People who are tired of being tired. People who are ready to change their lives. People who are disappearing from their old lives and stepping into their power. You can do this. You are ready. You are capable. You are enough. Make the decision. Disappear. And when you come back, you won't recognize yourself. You'll be stronger. You'll be clearer. You'll be focused. You'll be unstoppable. This is the first step to everything you've ever wanted. And it starts with disappearing from the old you. Right here. Right now. Forever.
Chapter 2. Radical Isolation. Why you must go dark. When you decide to change your life, when you finally make that commitment deep in your bones, the first thing you'll notice is how noisy the world really is. Noise everywhere. Distractions pulling you in every direction. People telling you who you should be, what you should want, how you should live. And if you keep listening to all of it, you'll stay exactly where you are. Stuck, confused, living in a cycle that repeats itself over and over again. This is why the moment you decide to disappear from your old self, you need to step into the next phase of your transformation, and that is going dark. Radical isolation. Total focus. Complete detachment from anything and anyone that doesn't align with the life you are building. You have to understand something here. Growth isn't loud. Reinvention isn't public. The most powerful changes you'll ever make happen in the silence when no one is watching. And the people who are brave enough to embrace that silence, who are strong enough to walk alone for a while, those are the ones who come back unrecognizable. There's a version of you right now that has been built by your environment. The things you watch, the people you listen to, the places you spend your time, all of it has shaped who you are. If you want to become someone new, you can't do it in the same environment that made you who you are now. You can't transform in front of the same crowd that expects you to stay the same. You have to step away. Completely. This is where radical isolation comes in. And I don't mean loneliness. I'm not talking about cutting yourself off from life. I'm talking about intentionally removing yourself from the noise. Creating a space so silent, so empty, that you are finally able to hear your own voice. And if you're willing to do that, if you're willing to go dark for a while, everything changes. You'll gain clarity. You'll build focus. You'll develop a level of discipline and self-respect that you never thought possible. Because for the first time in your life, you are no longer being pulled by outside forces. You are finally leading yourself. Now I get it. Radical isolation sounds intense, and it is. But it's not something you need to be afraid of. In fact, it's the most powerful tool you have if you want to create a life that looks nothing like the one you're leaving behind. Think about it. Every single person you look up to, every legend, every leader, every unstoppable force you admire, they all have one thing in common. They took time to disappear,
to cut themselves off from distractions, to put in the work in silence while no one was clapping for them, while no one believed in them, while no one was even paying attention. And then when they emerged, they weren't the same. They were sharper, stronger, focused, relentless. You can't become that version of yourself if you're still constantly plugged into the old life. So what does it really mean to go dark? It means you stop broadcasting your moves. You stop announcing your plans. You stop explaining yourself to people who don't understand the path you're on. You stop giving everyone access to your energy, your time, your mind. You lock in. You get quiet. You do the work. One of the most life-changing things you will ever do is to create a period of your life where you disappear from the old world, where you make your world so small that nothing gets in unless you allow it. No pointless conversations, no mindless scrolling, no time-wasting habits. Just you, your mission, and the work it's going to take to build the life you want. And this isn't about proving anyone wrong. This isn't about showing off later on. This is about proving yourself right. This is about doing it because you said you would, because you know you are capable of more, and because you refuse to die with your potential still inside you. The truth is, we've all been programmed to stay connected all the time, to always be available, to constantly consume content, news, opinions, and all of that is designed to keep you distracted. The system wants you plugged in because as long as you're distracted, you're not building. As long as you're consuming, you're not creating. As long as you're being entertained, you're not growing. Radical isolation breaks that cycle. It gives you back control. It creates space for your mind to reset, to reprogram, to focus on what really matters. Imagine waking up and not reaching for your phone. Imagine going hours without scrolling. Imagine spending days focused on nothing but your craft, your training, your personal growth. No noise, no drama, no opinions, just you and the process. That's where mastery is built. That's where clarity comes from. That's where you become dangerous. I want you to understand something. The reason this works, the reason going dark works, is because it eliminates the constant distractions that weaken your mind. Every time you scroll through your phone, every time you check your notifications, every time you engage in a conversation that doesn't add value to your life, you are leaking energy. Tiny little leaks all day long. And by the end of the day you're drained, you're exhausted. Not because you worked hard on yourself, but because you wasted your focus on things that don't matter. Radical isolation stops those leaks. It creates a container for your energy, a place where all your effort, all your focus, all your time is invested into building yourself into someone powerful, someone disciplined, someone unstoppable. Now I'm not saying you need to disappear forever, but I am saying you need to commit to a season of isolation if you want to change your life. Maybe it's 30 days, maybe it's 90, maybe it's 6 months, but however long it is, you need to give yourself that time. No shortcuts, no half in, half out mentality. You go all in, you go dark, and you commit to the process even when it's uncomfortable, especially when it's uncomfortable. Because that's where growth happens. When you strip away the distractions, when you silence the noise, when you stop getting validation from others and start getting validation from the work you're doing in silence. I'll be honest with you, the first few days will be hard. You'll feel restless, you'll feel bored, you'll feel the urge to check in, to see what everyone else is doing, to tell people what you're up to. Resist it. Lean into the silence. Get comfortable with it. Because on the other side of that discomfort is a version of you that is laser-focused, completely committed, and completely in control of their life. And that version of you isn't worried about likes, followers, opinions, or validation.
That version of you is building something that speaks for itself. Going dark isn't about being antisocial. It's about being intentional. It's about deciding that for this season of your life, nothing matters more than your own growth, your own discipline, your own future. And if people don't understand, that's okay. They're not supposed to. This isn't their journey. It's yours. And when you come out on the other side, when they see the person you've become, they won't recognize you. But you'll recognize yourself. You'll finally be the person you said you were going to be. And it will all be because you were brave enough to go dark, to isolate, to commit. So here's what I want you to do. Make the decision. Right now, commit to a season of radical isolation. Decide how long you're going to do it. Create a plan. Cut out the distractions. Build a routine that forces you to focus on yourself and your growth every single day. And then do it. Don't announce it. Don't explain it. Just do it. Go dark. Lock in. And when you come back, let your results do the talking. The world doesn't need another person who's kind of disciplined. It needs people who are all in. People who are committed to mastery. People who lead themselves first so they can lead others. And that starts with going dark, with embracing radical isolation, with creating the space for your true power to emerge. This is your moment, your time to choose. Stay in the noise, or step into the silence and become unstoppable. Go dark. Build yourself in silence. And when it's time, show the world who you've become, but not before, not a second before. Let them wonder where you went. Let them be surprised when you return. And until then, disappear.
Chapter 3. Starve the weak mind. The hardest battle you will ever fight is the one that happens quietly, inside your own mind. It's the fight nobody sees, the one that plays out in silence when you're alone. It's the fight between the part of you that wants to grow and the part of you that whispers it's okay to stay the same. And it's in those moments when no one is watching, when it's just you and your thoughts, that you decide what your future is going to be. You either stand up and push yourself forward, or you stay stuck, giving in to the easy way out. Every single day you are at war with the weaker version of yourself. The question is, how long are you going to let that version win? Because the truth is, if you keep feeding the weak mind, it's going to run your life. But if you learn to starve it, if you cut off its oxygen supply, you will change everything. And not just for today, but forever. Right now I want you to think about the version of you that's been running your life. Be honest with yourself. Think about the days you've skipped your workouts, the times you've told yourself you'll start tomorrow, the moments you've said you're too tired, too stressed, too busy. That voice, that excuse-making voice in your head, is the weak mind. It's the part of you that wants to protect you from discomfort, the part that whispers that you've done enough, even when you know deep down that you've got more to give. And if you've been listening to that voice for too long, it becomes your reality. Suddenly, what started as a whisper becomes the truth you live by. You start to believe you can't change, that it's too late, that you're just not that person. And every time you choose comfort over discipline, that version of you gets stronger. The weak mind feeds on your choices. It grows when you let yourself off the hook. It gets louder every time you quit. But here's the thing, you don't have to listen to it. You don't have to believe everything your mind tells you. You have the power to silence that voice. You have the power to starve the weak mind, until it has no choice but to shrink and disappear. And you do that by refusing to feed it. You do that by choosing discipline when it's inconvenient. You do it by doing what needs to be done, especially when you don't feel like it. Every time you push through the resistance, every time you take action when the weak mind tells you to stop, you take back control. You get stronger. You become the person you were meant to be. Understand this. The weak mind loves comfort. It craves easy. It's addicted to instant gratification. That's why it tells you to hit the snooze button. That's why it says 1 more hour on your phone won't hurt. That's why it convinces you that you can skip today because you'll make it up tomorrow. But you and I both know tomorrow never comes. All you have is now. And every time you choose to delay, to procrastinate, to avoid the hard things, you are choosing to let the weak mind win. But if you flip that switch, if you decide that you are no longer available for that way of thinking, you change the game. You choose to step into discomfort. You choose to do hard things. You choose to push when it would be easier to coast, and that's where the growth happens. I need you to understand how powerful this is. Every time you deny yourself the easy way out, every time you refuse to give the weak mind what it wants, you are building mental toughness. You are rewiring your brain to crave the challenge, to embrace the hard, to seek out resistance, because you know that's where you become unstoppable. And listen to me, you don't have to start big. This isn't about running a marathon tomorrow or building a multi-million-dollar business by next week. This is about the small decisions, the ones that add up over time. Waking up when your alarm goes off, even when you're tired. Saying no to the junk food that you know doesn't fuel you. Showing up to the gym even when you're not motivated. Getting the work done even when nobody's watching. Those small decisions are where it starts. And when you stack them, day after day, you look up one day and you don't even recognize yourself anymore. You've become someone who doesn't quit. Someone who keeps going no matter what. Someone who is in complete control of their life. The weak mind doesn't like this. It will fight you. It will throw every excuse at you. It will remind you of every failure, every shortcoming, every reason why it's easier to stop. But that's the moment you remind it who's in charge. That's the moment you take all the energy it's using to hold you back and you turn it into fuel. And every time you do that, you get stronger. Every time you silence that voice and take action anyway, you build momentum. And that momentum will carry you further than you ever thought possible. I want you to think about who you could be if you starved the weak mind for 30 days. Imagine who you would become if, for just 1 month, you denied yourself every excuse, every easy way out, every reason to stop, and instead you chose discipline, you chose hard work, you chose commitment, no matter how you felt. Can you imagine how different your life would be? Because the truth is, you don't need more time. You don't need more information. You don't need more motivation. You need to stop feeding the weak mind and start feeding your strength. And I'm telling you this because I've lived it. I've been the person who listened to the excuses. I've been the one who said tomorrow. I've been the one who let the weak mind run my life. And it took me to places I never want to go back to. It made me soft. It made me lazy. It made me miserable. But the moment I decided to starve it, everything changed. I stopped waiting to feel ready. I stopped waiting for motivation. I stopped letting my circumstances dictate my effort. And I decided that no matter what, I was going to show up for myself every single day. And when I did that, I found out who I really was. You have that same power inside you. You have the ability to choose differently, to act differently, to become someone you respect. But it starts by recognizing when the weak mind is speaking and choosing not to listen. It starts by building the habit of discipline, one decision at a time, and it starts right now. Not tomorrow, not next week. Right now, you decide, you commit, and you show up, because the weak mind is never going away completely. It's always going to be there whispering, trying to pull you back. But you don't have to let it win. You can starve it. You can silence it. And you can lead yourself into a future that looks nothing like your past. So if you're tired of starting over, if you're tired of feeling stuck, if you're tired of wondering why you aren't where you want to be, this is your answer. Starve the weak mind. Stop feeding it. And watch how everything in your life begins to change. You have the power. You always have. Now it's time to use it. Stay locked in. Stay focused. And refuse to let the weak mind make one more decision in your life. This is your time, your move. And it all starts today. Chapter 4. The Power of Being Nobody. When you finally realize that you don't need recognition, that you don't need applause, that you don't need validation to become who you were meant to be, something powerful happens. You stop trying to be somebody in the eyes of everyone else, and you start focusing on becoming somebody in your own life. You stop chasing attention, and you start chasing purpose. You stop talking about who you want to be, and you start becoming that person in silence. The truth is, the world doesn't need to know your next move. It doesn't need to see your every step. It doesn't need to be updated on your process. Because the people who make the biggest impact are the ones who are too focused on the work to worry about being seen. The power of being nobody is one of the greatest weapons you will ever have in this life, because it allows you to focus on what matters. It frees you from the noise, from the opinions, from the pressure of keeping up appearances. It gives you the ability to put all of your energy into becoming unrecognizable without the need for approval from anyone. You see, when you're trying to become somebody in the eyes of everyone else, you lose yourself. You start playing a role. You start making decisions not based on your mission, but based on how it looks. You begin to live for validation. You begin to crave the applause. And before you know it, everything you do is for the wrong reasons. Your moves aren't about growth. They're about recognition. Your grind isn't about mastery. It's about attention. And that's why so many people never get anywhere. They're too busy trying to be seen as successful instead of becoming successful. They're too worried about posting progress instead of actually making progress. They live for approval and they die when it's gone. But when you let go of that need, when you let go of the need to be somebody, you unlock a level of focus and discipline that few people ever experience. Because now you're not doing it for them. You're doing it for you. You're not grinding for likes. You're grinding for your legacy. You're not posting for praise. You're working for power. And that's when you become dangerous. That's when you become unstoppable. Because the person who doesn't care about being seen is the person who is free to move without limits. They're free to fail in silence, to get back up in silence, to improve in silence, and to emerge when they're ready, if they choose to at all. The power of being nobody is that nobody expects anything from you, and that's your advantage. Nobody sees you coming. Nobody is watching you close enough to copy your moves. Nobody is trying to tear you down because they don't even know where you are. You're in the shadows. You're doing the work. You're building something solid. And when you do decide to come out and show the world who you are, you do it on your terms, and you do it from a position of strength. Not because you need validation, but because you have something real to offer. Something undeniable. Something that speaks for itself. I'm telling you this because I learned it the hard way. There was a time when I was addicted to being seen. I thought the more people knew what I was doing, the more successful I'd feel. I thought the more likes I got, the more progress I made. But what I didn't realize was that the more I shared, the less I was focused on the actual work. I was chasing perception, not reality. And perception fades. It's empty. It's meaningless. You can't build a life off of applause. You can't sustain greatness off of validation. And the moment I realized that, I disappeared. I stopped announcing. I stopped explaining. I stopped showing my process to anyone. And that's when I started growing for real. Because the power of being nobody is freedom. It's freedom from judgment. It's freedom from comparison. It's freedom from distraction. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. You don't need to explain your moves. You don't need to justify your grind. You just need to do the work, day in and day out, without needing anyone to cheer you on. And when you stop needing people to notice you, you start noticing yourself. You start building a real connection with your purpose. You start falling in love with the process, not the praise. And that's where the real transformation happens. But I'll tell you this straight. It's not easy. It's not easy to go silent in a world that's addicted to noise. It's not easy to stay focused in a culture obsessed with attention. It's not easy to move in silence when you're surrounded by people who are constantly broadcasting their every move. But that's exactly why it works. Because when you do what most people are too insecure to do, you get results most people will never have. You build something solid. You create something that doesn't need validation to stand tall. And when you do decide to show up, you show up with receipts. Not stories. Not posts. Proof. The kind of proof nobody can deny. So what does that look like? It looks like waking up every day and making your world small. It looks like cutting out the unnecessary noise. It looks like putting your head down and doing the work without posting about it. It looks like staying disciplined even when nobody is clapping for you. It looks like falling in love with silence, falling in love with solitude, falling in love with becoming the best version of yourself in a space where no one sees the struggle, no one sees the grind, and no one sees the sacrifice. But you see it, and you feel it, and that's enough, because you know what's coming. The power of being nobody means you don't care how long it takes. You're not in a race with anyone. You're not comparing your chapter 1 to their chapter 10. You're not worried about where anyone else is, because you're too focused on where you're going. And the best part, you move without pressure. There's no spotlight on you, no audience watching your every move. That's your advantage. That's your freedom. And it's a weapon most people will never understand. If you want to change your life,